there's all these companies publishing skills for the first time. Vercel is publishing skills, Anthropic, Microsoft, and then it was like Corey Haines 31. And so I think for a lot of people, that was the first time that they're like, who is this guy? And like, what is this? What are the marketing skills?
So take me from you wrote this thing and then you tweeted about it to like then the next echelon of things that happened, which is you're on some podcasts and in some YouTube videos and speaking at different companies and conferences and things. How did that take place?
Yeah. So how GitHub works is when you have an open source project, people can give a star, which kind of like saves it for them, but it's also just like a public, count of endorsement essentially. And so, pretty quickly it hit like 1,000 stars, and then it started trending on the front page of GitHub. And then it started circulating around Twitter because it got all these likes. And I think the original tweet got close to like 1 million impressions. And so just a lot of people saw it. And Claude Code and skills had already just started to take off. And so it was kind of already in the zeitgeist of like what tech Twitter was talking about at the moment. And then my repo popped up and just started circulating everywhere. The other factor was that there's this company Vercel, which one of their guys, Andrew Wu, he created a skills directory called skills.sh. And so then my skills all started trending on the skills directory. And then they had done a lot of marketing around it, and it blew up on their end, which just kind of helped perpetuate the momentum that was gaining with the marketing skills repo. And that was crazy because then, companies publishing skills for the first time, Vercel is publishing skills, Anthropic, Microsoft, and then it was like Corey Haines 31. And so I think for a lot of people, that was the first time that they're like, who is this guy? And like, what is this? What are the marketing skills? And there were so many. I think I published 22 initially. Like Vercel published one. They published Vercel React Best Practices, I think it's called. I published 22. So it just kind of dominated the front page of the directory. And everybody started seeing it. It's only one command away from installing, and and got a lot of hype that way. So then Vercel decided that they wanted to launch a couple of parties around the U.S. So San Francisco, New York, and London, and they offered to fly me to attend SF and then to speak in New York, which I just did last week, to talk about how I made the skills, what they do. It was like a 6-minute lightning demo, but and then people have been asking me to go on podcasts. Oh, show me this, show me how this works. I've been getting comments even on Twitter, like people are like, isn't this just like another way to make a bunch of slop? Well, yeah, that's fair. That's what like most people think about AI still. But I think that then they see, oh, here's how you vibe code, but vibe market. And they're like, oh, that's actually very interesting. So yeah, it's just captured people's attention.
It sounds like it'd be the equivalent of, putting a synth in the hands of a really capable musician. It's like, sure,
right.
it could very much make slop, but in the hands of somebody that knows what they're doing and is very creative, it's actually just going to make your life a lot easier.
Yeah, 100%. And that's my suspicion is I think that, it's got over 10,000 stars now on GitHub. I think like something, maybe like 3,000 forks or something, which are like people directly copying it into their own GitHub. I think maybe a couple of hundred have like used it end to end with like one skill. Probably only a handful have really used all the skills, their full capabilities. So it's still like, you've got this powerful tool, but no one's really fully utilizing it yet. We'll see if that changes. Yeah. But it can be a slot machine if you have sloppy tastes. But if you're an expert, then that's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, it was funny when we were all together, because in case anyone doesn't know, obviously we run an agency, and so we're like adopting and learning all these AI tools and like adding to. So we were all together like setting up Claude and doing some things for just the three of us. And Corey was like, okay, go to skills.sh. And I was reading through the list, and it was like Anthropic, Vercel, Corey Haines 31, Anthropic. And I was like, this is like a comical. This is so funny and random. when does Marketing Skills 2.0 come out? Or is it like, are you going to add to it as it goes? Or how does this work in terms of like the evolution of these skills? Like, is this something that you want to add to? Is it like
Mhm.
there's new ones that will come out that you're like, well, this is a better version? Or how will that look as it evolves?
Yeah, we're already on version 1.3. So we've had 3 updates, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. I've been doing it like every week or two-ish and just trying to listen to feedback. There's people that have, because it's open source, you can either add an issue, which is like, hey, this thing is missing or broken, or you can add a pull request, which is, I built this, and now I want to merge it into the repo. So there's been quite a few people who are like, I need this, or it'd be cool if it worked this way and did that thing. So it's already evolved like a lot since the beginning, where from the beginning there was just the 22 skills. Now I think there's 32. I also added a bunch of tools and integrations where basically Claude would have to write a lot of manual integrations with some of these tools. Let's just say Webflow, for example. It would have to figure out, okay, let's go find Webflow's API. Let's see how it works. Let's write the scripts to be able to like interact with Webflow and do the things that we want it to. Maybe we want to like, send a blog post into the CMS. Well, now I just built all the integrations and CLIs into the repo so that it didn't have to build it from scratch. It just says, oh, okay, let's use this script for Webflow. And that's how we know to, get the blog posts in the right way. So there's like 52, I think, tools and integrations, and those can either be MCPs, CLIs, command line interface, which is basically a little wrapper in your terminal to be able to more easily do things. And it just tells Claude how to interact with outside services. And yeah, I'm going to be adding some more soon. Probably the next stage, what I'm going to be doing is just like short commands. So how the skills get triggered is you have to kind of trigger them via a keyword. It'd be like, Claude, I'm working on SEO. What should I do to improve? And then it's like, SEO, do we have a skill for that? Oh, we do. Let's use the SEO audit. But now you can maybe just type /SEO, and then it'll initialize directly calling that skill, and then be like, oh, let me start an audit for you. Let me suggest some improvements. Let me da-da-da-da-da. The other thing, like, I don't know where it's going to go. I have no idea where this is going to land. I don't even know. It was funny because a week after publishing the repo, Vercel came out with a study in a blog post that I think flew under the radar a little bit, which was that skills in their current form of being individual markdown files, all separate, AI had like a 60% hit rate of correctly calling and invoking the skills at the right time. But if they compressed all the files into one massive markdown file that was like digitally compressed so that it was a smaller file size and easier to read, it had a 100% hit rate. So they were like, everybody compress your skills, but there's no good way to do that. So there's probably going to be a future where marketing skills is just one giant file versus right now it's like a couple hundred files. Yeah. Like altogether, if you split them out,
So rather than having like, oh, this one's for copywriting, this one's for SEO, this one's for X, Y, and Z, those would all be compressed into one. It's just marketing. So anytime you're asking anything related to marketing to Claude, it'll just reference that and then find that piece of the markdown. Is that what you're saying?
Right. It'll just go to that section. If you say SEO, it'll go to the marketing skill, and then it'll search for the SEO section and then follow that. It'll all be the exact same content. It's just packaged differently.
How easy is it for somebody to get started with it? What should they count on there being the most value within those skills? Like, if you're going to pick one thing out of these skills, this is the GOAT. Maybe like the top 3. Go over to the top 3 things inside of those skills that everybody should utilize. Or perhaps even better question, like, what's the order by which you establish them? Or does the AI already know how to do that? Like, it will walk you through the steps.
So the skill repo will tell you like the order of operations, and it can also give you recommendations. In fact, one of the things I mentioned in New York at my talk was one of the things I found to be the most useful when starting out with a skill is you don't want to have to read through the skills themselves. Like, it's not really important for you to know and memorize the information. But if you just ask Claude to do that for you and say, hey, how do I use this skill? It can do all the work of thinking for you. And, oh, you're supposed to do this first, and then you do this, and then you do this. Because sometimes you can wrongly prescribe directions to Claude, and
Skill.
you're like, hey Claude, start with the SEO skill and do this, this, and this. And when in reality, you're supposed to start with the product marketing context skill, which is how I have it set up, where everything starts with product marketing context, which is your positioning, targeting, audience, information about your product, capabilities, things that it does, things that it doesn't do, so that you're not like hallucinating features. That skill sets all that up for you. And then every other skill references the product marketing context skill so that it's loaded with the right info about you and your product and what you're working on. And then there's other skills that reference each other. Like there's an SEO audit skill, but then if you wanted to get into AI SEO things, then it actually branches off into a different skill, dedicated to AI SEO. So probably where I would start is product marketing context. That's always like, and if you just use that one skill and then he just told Claude, don't use the other marketing skills, but write copy for my website, it's probably still going to get you better results because it's actually knows about your product instead of just trying to make it up or do like a generic web search, which it can hallucinate all the time. Because it'll, maybe it goes to some review blog post from 3 years ago about your product, and now all those things are out of date or obsolete, right? It might not even go to your own website, or it might go through your website, but it doesn't go through all the pages. It just looks at the homepage, and your homepage only has 30% of what your product can really do, right? So product marketing context, I do think that the copywriting skill is like pretty good at writing decent copy. The programmatic SEO one is really cool because that's one of the most difficult things to do and to do right. And I've even had a couple people do it. You guys know Carlos Arbona. Shout out to him. He used it to publish like 24,000 pages on his new startup. And like they're all perfect. Like they're just done. And he did it in a couple of days, kind of going through it step by step, and went through a couple of iterations, but that's one of those very niche things that's hard to execute right. And then the SEO audit one is also really good because, especially when you're spinning up a new website in Next.js, for example, it's going to do things more built for an app, not a website. And so you do the SEO audit, and then it's going to clean up and add all the things that you need in order to be up to spec for SEO.
Very cool. That's especially useful if you have a product that creates a lot of like a huge amount of data. Like Swipe Well, right? Super cool. Nice.
I was gonna ask because one of my favorite things is like, there's a lot of agencies that are like, a lot of agencies I think die because they're unwilling to adapt. Like they have a certain way that they've done things for a really long time, and it worked for a set period of time. And then as industries shift and as tools shift, they kind of refuse to adapt and die out. That's one of the things I really like about working with you two specifically, is because both of you are like the new thing and want to see if we can get the new thing to work with our business. And so that's kind of the context for my question, which is, it seems like there's a bunch of marketers out there who are like just scraping the surface of AI and being like, look how awesome this is. Look at this snow I just like scraped off the top. It's all powdered and it's beautiful. Like they're like, oh, I can feed this into ChatGPT and it will tell me if the headings are messed up, or I can write a blog with ChatGPT. Like that is the surface that they're scraping, and they have no idea that there's like all this valuable ore and stuff just under if they just digged a little bit deeper. And this to me seems like kind of the start of that. Like we're digging in and we're being like, okay, this is a way to implement a very serious and deep workflow using AI to do a ton of things. And it has the brain sitting right here. How long before the normal marketing people can handle this kind of like without needing like serious handholding? That's like kind of my biggest concern with the way that marketing is shifting with AI.
I think until it feels normal for everyday marketers, is like, this is your standard tool set, it's going to be like a few years, probably. They're just, we went to a conference, just a few weeks ago, and I don't think I talked to a single person who had even touched Claude Code or really even knew what it was.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but the flip side of that is that I don't think Claude Code is like the final tool that we all should be using for marketing. The fact is that like using the terminal is not a very user friendly experience. and
It's not.
and it takes a lot of finessing your terminal, Claude Code, your setup, integrating with other tools. And so like I think that that's going to be the thing that we do really, really well. And like if you're cutting edge, that's going to be the way that you do it. But long term, we're all going to find ways to take Claude Code and put it into the browser and have those connections all set up for you. That's basically the point of Magister, the new thing that's kind of branched off of marketing skills, because there was all these people that were like, I've never even touched a terminal before. How to do this? And I made codingformarketers.com. And then everybody in the Discord is like, can I just use Claude and Claude Cowork? I'm like, no. the point is to use something that has all the tools outside of what you can do in the browser. So now we're setting up a way to take all the power of the terminal, but put it in the browser. So there's going to be tools like Magister and others. There's even like Manus now that have these built-in connectors and essentially are literally running Claude Code under the hood. They're using the Claude Code SDK, which means that they are taking Claude Code. Yeah. 100%.
Manus is running off of the Claude Code SDK, even though it's powered by Meta.
Yeah. And so is OpenClaw. OpenClaw uses the Claude Code SDK.
Yeah, but we all knew that.
Yeah. No, but that's what Manus did, was they basically forked OpenClaw, and then they it's like, okay, did they do it? Did they really not? It's kind of a bunch of same difference, right? It doesn't really matter. But yeah, detail wise, like Claude Code right now is the gold standard for agentic AI. And so everybody is using Claude Code under the hood. It's just a matter of the interface and the connectors and how they're harnessing Claude Code under the hood.
Yeah, we started. I know you showed us. You were like, "Hey, we should use this the Blueberry," and I was like, "This is a new thing. There's other versions of this, right? There's what is I was
Cursor.
Basically like researching, Cursor and all the other ones. I was like, okay, what are the other options? And basically, AI was like, they're all good. And this is brand new, so just pick one, because they all are trying to learn and do new things. So like Claude is the only thing that's kind of like right now, it's kind of settled that this is what you should use for this specific purpose. But like even where you use it is not set in stone. Like there's not a standard toolkit that makes the most sense for all the use cases, which is like, dude, I cannot wait to figure out. Like there's going to be, in 3 months, there's going to be a new tool that's like, a Claude inside this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like going to be so awesome. So I'm just waiting to see what that'll be.
Yeah. That's the difference right now too, I think, is the user experience. So Claude Code in the terminal is not a great user experience, but that will not be true probably in 3 to 6 months, like you said. We're already seeing that, like with Magister. Just a little sneak peek really quick is that we've gotten like our MVP up, and it's basically Claude Code in the browser. Now, you still have to know how to prompt it, what to do. You have to do some work to grab API keys, things like that, right? But now that we've solved the Claude Code thing of like agentic AI workflows, now we're going back to the interface, the UX, the user experience, and making that a friendlier, easier to use.